New associate orientation. I was 18 years old when I showed up for my first day at my new job at a big fancy hotel, and I was so excited. I had no idea at that point that this was going to be the first of a long, long hotel career. 20 some years later, and I'm still there. But for this first new associate orientation, I had a lot to learn. For those of you who have never worked for a hotel, new associate orientation is the day where the director of human resources wafts down from the ivory tower, cloaked in a cloud of expensive perfume and teetering daintily on spiky, impossible heels. Once she arrives at the conference room, she sits with us and picks at her Otis Spunkmeyer cookie, drinks daintily from that teeny tiny bottle of Diet Coke that we serve at hotels, and proceeds to make best friends with all of the new housekeepers, dishwashers, bellboys, and front desk agents. And of course, I'm sitting there excited to have all of my new friends, but I had so much to learn. Little did I know that starting the next day when the real work began, that we would scatter like flies, and suddenly we would become part of a caste system more complicated and treacherous than high school. And never again should we mix and mingle at the hotel. Additionally, while we were segregated by our departments, there was also a big separation in the different levels. Those of us that were paid hourly were separate from the managers. And then there were degree of managers leading up to the executive committee. And all of us must rotate only in our own circles. Now, I started as a front desk agent, and the job was pretty simple. Later, after I graduated from college, I would take a position as an entry-level sales manager, and I would work my way up in the career. It was at those times that I would remember back to my feelings at the front desk and watching the behavior of the managers. I wanted to be one of the good managers. So most of you have received some sort of job description, and I don't know if you've read through all of the many pages of tasks that might fall under your title, but the very last one in a hotel always says, "Other duties as assigned." In a hotel, there are a lot of other duties. And this is how I might find myself actually cleaning rooms one day, bussing tables the next, and one time, they even let me drive the shuttle to the airport. Once we got it back from the mechanic, the hotel insurance had advised my boss that maybe we shouldn't let me do that anymore. But I digress. So there I am sitting in my new associate orientation for the very first time. And after they go through all the benefits, all the policies, the uniform procedure, they proceed to show us videos that I'm convinced were made by the same company that made the Drive to Survive videos that we remember from high school driver's ed class. These dealt with safety, and in particular, fire safety. A fire that happens in a hotel can be a very tragic and horrible situation. Therefore, it's important that every single team member, no matter what their job title is, know how to respond in the instance of an emergency. Fueled with that horror, they send us back out into our day jobs. Luckily, throughout my career, I've had very few actual real fire situations occur. Sometimes a grease fire might start in the kitchen, gets put out pretty quickly. Every now and then you might find something that catches a piece of paper that runs through the dryer down in the laundry room. And these things can be dealt with pretty efficiently. One time, however, following September 11th, we had an anxious guest call and report a suspicious piece of luggage out in the parking lot, with no one appearing to be around it. Immediately on high alert, the manager on duty called 911 and they dispatched the bomb squad. And all of us watched from the window, safe distance away, as the bomb squad kind of did their thing. And about 30 minutes later, a guest called from the rental car at the airport, and he wanted to know if we could check his room because when he arrived, his suitcase wasn't in the trunk. Like the unoffending suitcase, there have been a lot more emergency-like situations than true emergencies that I have encountered. Fire alarms happen with a great deal of regularity in a hotel. Sometimes you have drunks that just can't help themselves. I remember one particular hotel that the fire alarm would go off every single Saturday night because it was located right near where the ashtray was. I don't know why that made sense, but somehow it did. And then, of course, every 2 or 3 years, you hold a wedding in the hotel where some photographer gets the bright idea that they should hang the wedding dress from that little metal hook high up on the ceiling, the one with the pretty little metal flower petals around it. And there they can get that perfect image of the wedding dress just floating almost in thin air. For about 2 seconds, it works. Following that little glass capsule inside the sprinkler will burst, and even worse than dousing the gown, the bride, the photographer, and the panicking bridesmaids, the first thing that comes out of that sprinkler will be a lovely black, oily goo. So despite that, I have an even more memorable fire alarm story. I was a catering sales manager responsible for all of the events that were taking place at the hotel. And the hotel had just recently undergone a massive, expensive renovation. And our owners decided that they wanted to showcase the new jewel in their crown by having us host the Senior Leadership Conference. The Senior Leadership Conference is a fantastic opportunity for all of us that work at the hotel to put our best foot forward, run around and chase our tails, spend copious amounts of money, and the best part of all, not charge a penny for all of that effort. Yes, this is a gratis event. Not only does it not result in a bonus check for your sales manager, it also displaces someone else who is going to pay for that space. Nonetheless, we were approaching this fancy conference, and we had created elaborate menus finer than any of our actual paying guests would ever see. We had ordered tons of new equipment, and we had scrambled the whole prior week to put our construction-worn hotel back in the best semblance of order as we could. On Friday, I checked the weather report for the conference that will be starting on Monday, and I see that the forecast calls for snow. Not wanting a horrible commute to jeopardize my arrival, I made arrangements to check into the hotel Sunday night so I would be there for the 7 a.m. gourmet breakfast. I check into the hotel on Sunday, and because we had given all of our newly renovated rooms to all of the senior leadership, I got checked into a room that had not been completed yet. No TV, no lamps, no phone, and best of all, no neighbors. I am completely alone on an empty hotel floor. But this doesn't concern me because my function is to sleep so that I can be fresh the next morning. I fall asleep having gone through my normal nightly routine. I washed my face, I brushed my teeth, I removed my contact lenses, and I took great care to station my glasses on the bedside table immediately behind me. I have the kind of eyesight where I can't even find the big E on the chart without my contacts, so waking up in an unfamiliar environment and not being able to see is a little disconcerting. Even more disconcerting, however, is waking up in an unfamiliar environment at 2 o'clock in the morning with the fire alarm going off. So I immediately jump out of bed, I run to the door, and I'm partway down the hall before I realize I forgot my glasses. I run back into the room, grab my glasses, and I'm halfway down the stairs before I realize it's chilly in here and I forgot my robe. Nonetheless, I don't have time to go back. I've seen all of these horrible videos about what happens when people don't evacuate from a hotel in a fire, and I descend all the way to the lobby. Once I'm there, I check in with the night manager and I confirm that he's already called for the fire department and he has already dispatched the night auditor with the emergency guest list to go out and check that we have in fact evacuated everyone that we needed to. There's really nothing of an emergency nature that I have to do at this point. So instead, I grab a coffee pot and some styrofoam cups, and I go outside to all of our guests standing around in their jammies and do my best to make them somewhat comfortable while it's snowing outside at 2 o'clock in the morning. Presently, the fire department gives us the all clear that we can go back into our rooms. It appears that as a result of having some empty floors in the hotel because of the construction, we had the heat off. And because we had the heat off, we'd burst some pipes, and one of those pipes was in the sprinkler system, and it's been all rerouted now. There's nothing to worry about. We can all go back to sleep. So we do. Would you believe, just as I drifted off to sleep, the alarm goes off again. But I've learned. I grab my glasses and I run out the door, and again I'm halfway down the steps and I realize I forgot my robe. Darn. But I get downstairs, I confirm with the night manager he's got everything under control, and I resume my rounds with the coffee and the cups. And at this point, I'm also receiving some commentary from some of the guests. Fire department comes, they give us the all clear, they send us back to our rooms. At this point, it's probably getting a little bit close to 3, and I need to sleep quick because I've got that omelet station starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. I've just drifted off to sleep when, can you believe, the alarm goes off for a 3rd time. Now I'm ready though. Practice makes perfect. I grab the glasses, I grab the robe, I'm down in the lobby, everything's good. I take the coffee and the cups, I go outside. And now the guests are not so happy. They got some things to say. And I'm doing my best to try to, I'm sorry, this wasn't expected, we'll, see what we can do in the morning. And then I get to this one cranky lady, and she says, I want to know where your manager is. I bet if he were here tonight, this wouldn't be happening. And I looked at her, and I said, ma'am, see that clump of people right over there? That is all the senior leadership of our entire company standing over there in their jammies. I'm sure they would love to hear your opinion on the subject. So shortly thereafter, the fire department gives us the all clear. We head back into the building. I managed to get enough sleep and get up in the morning, get that omelet station off without a hitch. 3 incredibly busy, anxiety-filled days. It's Wednesday evening and I'm leaving the hotel, the conference having been declared a success. I sleep and I sleep and I sleep, and it wasn't until about a week later that it occurred to me to think, why exactly were all of the senior leaders standing over there in their jammies while I was the one running around trying to serve the guests?